welcome to my channel. So I'm trying something a little different today. I feel like I say that every video, but I am trying something a little different today. I'm going to just do a little painting and just chat with you all. Sort of organized thoughts, 3 a.m. thoughts. So I just wanted to see if this is something I could do because generally I can't talk and walk and chew gum at the same time. So this should be an interesting experiment to see how I do making this little painting. So I made something a little easy for myself. This PDF, there is a PDF for this I made for you all. If you join my mailing list, I left the link in the description. You can also paint this silly little frog with me. And this is the size it comes out. I did a little printout of the PDF, and this is the size it comes out. This is a 9x12 sheet of Arteza Expert watercolor paper. Expert TBD. I did some experimenting with that early this morning, and the papers didn't really hold up to the test of all of the things I tried. So I'll probably show you some of that while we're playing around here. But without further ado, I just wanted to talk a little bit, and I'll talk about my setup a little bit here. So I have a few colors set up already over here on the left. So I have a little swatch palette I'll share with you guys. It's two base colors and then one color for mixing. So very limited palette today. I am doing this lime green color, and this is from my Paul Rubens watercolor set. My Paul Rubens watercolor set is my tried and true set. I love it. The only thing it's missing is a Payne's Gray, which I have in another brand. But I didn't get it out for this. I was just let me find a different color to darken these up. And I decided on this really pretty bluish green that's in the set. Now, I'm picking your traditional witchy colors, right? Green, and then this purple is a base color here too. And then this is a mixing color. So this and this made this color here. And then this purple with this made this kind of darker purpley green you'll see here. And when you mix green and purple together, it makes brown. So there was definitely a lot of trial and error to not make it look super brownish. And I experimented a lot, and then I eventually said, you know what, I'm just gonna turn on the mic and get started and make something with you guys. I was playing with some really fun techniques. I do want to show one thing in regards to the paper. So I was doing this really fun thing I've seen on YouTube where you take dish soap and you make bubbles, because I wanted to make this kind of a bubbly cauldron thing. So I tried to use the dish soap and bubbles. I'm going to bring this out here, and it's kind of a cute little effect, right? You can see these kind of white spots. It's hard to contain, right, when you have a bunch of space. And then look at my paper. Oof. It is destroyed on the back. You can see even on the back, it's the soap and the water together just kind of utterly warped this to a place I don't think I can get back to. So while a cute idea, I decided against that for kind of the final piece here. So I'm going to keep it simple today. I am going to do some kind of fun smoky, wavy stuff here. So hopefully that'll be a fun technique that you all will want to try. And I'm actually going to start with that because that's where I want to start. So as I'm painting, just going to get a little water on my brush, and I dipped my brush in some paint. See, I'm already off to a great start. And I'm going wet on dry, right? So I haven't put any water on my paper yet. I'm just putting this light base of the green on there on the dry paper. So there's a fair bit of water in there. So it's going to dry pretty light to start, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to fix that later and like adjust some of the brightness and the darkness. And I like it to, vary, light to dark, especially in something like this, like maybe a little bit darker in the back and that sort of thing. So I'm going to let that do its thing. And I'm going to take a lot of water on the brush, and I'm just going to come up here, and I'm just going to start like making some like squiggles with my brush. I have a number 8 brush, just FYI. And there's a lot of water on there already, so I'm just kind of coming in, doing some squiggles, just putting my brush like directly in water, and then like maybe doing that again, just with like a little bit of water. And sorry, I have like this crazy setup with this microphone and this phone and everything, and so I feel like I'm gonna bump everything. I still haven't figured out the ultimate setup yet. This is just, I've been doing this for fun to start. Obviously, I want to have more creative endeavors in my future. So I'll keep building my setup from here. I'm just gonna drop a little bit of the lime green in some of these like lighter spaces. And it's just like, there's like no rhyme or reason to it, y'all. I'm just dropping darker color in there where it's like lighter and where it's still kind of wet. So some of it'll be light and some of it will be dark. Super duper light. And then I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to take a little bit of this like darker green and just kind of come in. And I'm not thinking about it too much. Try not to think about it too much. And I'm just going to put kind of let it go where it wants to go. Squiggle my brush. Doesn't matter how like light or dark it gets. If I want it to get darker later, I can always fix that, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna be happy with like the way it dries later. Alright, just adjusting. So talking about stuff, while this dries, we'll sit here and talk for a second. So I realized that I've been on YouTube for 6 months now. I started in April, and progress is about what I expected. I think I'm going to record another video about that, like kind of later on. What I've learned in the 6 months. I'm gonna work on the cauldron here, and I might have a little bit of green still in there. I'm gonna do a wet on wet this time. I might still have a little green on there. That's okay. It's not gonna bother me. And just start filling this whole thing with water. So anyway, YouTube, 6 months, and I think I've learned a lot, and I'll talk more about it when I record that video, but just in terms of like what I'm making right now, I've been making a lot of the little 3-panel comics with watercolor. I've been having a lot of fun with that. I think I know now from the dragonfly picture that I do like kind of outlining and illustrative style. I just replaced like my Micron pens, and I've been having a lot of fun playing with them. So that's why I did this kind of like outline, almost like a little coloring book. And I've seen other artists, like their style is like, I'm just going to drop in, change my mind. I'm going to drop in the darker purple. at the top. Yeah. And we'll see what happens. Um, I've seen some other artists kind of talk about how they use ink and wash and they really enjoy the technique. And knowing that that is a thing that other artists enjoy doing and that they've made it a part of their style just makes me feel like I am closer to leaning that way. I started off doing botanicals. I do a lot of botanicals in a lot of different mediums, as you've seen. And I'm just going to leave that alone because I don't want to mess with that. That looks pretty cool right now. I'm just going to leave that for a second and let it do whatever it's going to do. And then, so there's, like I said, there's a lot of YouTubers that do that. They ink first and then they use watercolor as their medium. And it's almost like a coloring page. And I thought that's really fun. I've never done watercolor coloring pages before. And so I think that, that's something to think about in the future. I've been thinking a lot about what I want to do with my art and what I want it to be. And I love nature. I love being inspired by things in nature. And I love animals. I love landscapes. And as much as I kind of want to be one of those like kind of cozy landscape artists, I just don't know if that's, where I'm leaning towards. I think I can incorporate those things in a more illustrative style as I continue to like learn and grow and things like that. So, I'm just thinking about what I want to do in the future. Do I want to have like whimsical art? Do I want more realistic art? And I feel like I'm leaning more towards the whimsical side, but I still want to challenge myself to do, complex subjects in that way. So, this year's been a little bit trying. I know I kind of just segued right into that, but I think it's just that really speaks to the kind of art I have been making in the last 6 months, because if you look at my first few videos and I start out just kind of doing a lot of flower stuff, and then from there I've just been wanting to paint more for fun and like less for like the goal of being a teacher or whatever it is that I wanted the channel to be. I think originally I wanted to be like kind of like one of these instructional channels. And I thought of like, if I had a mission statement, because I'm in the corporate world, at least for now. And I was thinking about what my mission statement would be. And I thought, well, what do I want to get out of this channel, right? I want to get learning. I want other people to learn from me, and I want to learn. So I have a lot to learn when it comes to, the skills and fundamentals and all the things that I've been practicing, right? I still have a long ways to go in learning there. And so learning is one of the key things I want to take away. Inspiration, like I said, I love being inspired by nature and the experiences of my life and the things around me. So, my spouse and I, we're pretty funny people, and we love to laugh at life. And I want that to be a part of how I express myself in my art. Using this image as an example, right? I just had a thought one day. I was like, well, I really need to paint something for the channel, right? I've been doing these 3-panel comics. I don't know if I want to turn that into something, would people really be interested in seeing like my process for making those? And so, in the meantime, I was like, let me just make something fun. And I just had this thought one day of, sometimes you're the witch, or some days you're the witch and some days you're the frog. And that's kind of where I got this idea to like kind of paint this from, is, that concept. Because I do feel like that sometimes. Some days I'm the witch and some days I'm the frog. And lately I've been the frog. It's almost like I tried to do this spell. I tried to create this great thing, and it kind of backfired on me. And now I've transformed into this silly little frog. I got a little blooming there. That's a bummer. I maybe should have waited just a little bit longer. I'll see if I can fix that later. I'm going to bring in some more purple here, and then I'm going to darken it up again. So, yeah. Um, already lost my train of thought on that. But, so yeah, humor. Just making my art a little bit more lighthearted than I have in the past, right? Or how I first started. And thinking, like, do I want this to be a channel where people learn? Yes. Um, but does it have to be a tutorial channel? No, doesn't necessarily have to be a tutorial channel. I don't think. I think that you all can learn from my mistakes, like the mistakes I'm literally making right now as we're talking. Um, and that might be relatable for you all. Look at that blue is kind of coming through. That's pretty cool. I'm just kind of digging how that's turning out. But I need to fix that little blooming thing. Whew. And so, in terms of that, that's kind of where I see the direction of this channel going. And now I'm really going to have to force myself to move this around because my paper's warping a lot. I didn't tape it down on purpose. I thought about whether or not I wanted to do that, and I decided against it for reasons, because mostly because I wanted like this kind of like smoky area to go all the way up to the top, and I didn't want there to be like a white line border there. I'm gonna destroy this paper probably, but I'm just gonna keep. Let me like drop some dark in there. See if I can make it look intentional, you guys. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I experimented a lot with this earlier in the day and before, and honestly didn't like how any of it turned out. So I was like, you know what? It's kind of now or never. Just go and do the thing, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Um, Sometimes art is like that. Sometimes you just have to make art for the sake of making art, and not worry so much about how it turns out in the end. That's what I want to get out of this. This is part of what I want to get out of this too, is that not everything has to be a masterpiece, and not everything is going to speak to everybody. But did I enjoy making it? You know, did I learn something from it? Great. I think that's a big and a really good takeaway. So then the other mission statement term I thought about was connection. Reacquainting myself with like the art community. I love art. I love going to museums. I love doing art events. And, I have friends that are artists. I've mentioned in the past that I go to Comic Con, and I've made a lot of friends at Comic Con, and they've really encouraged me too. They've tried to get me to start fan art and things like that. I don't know about fan art. We'll see. Um, I think I need to improve my drawing skills a little bit before I go that route. But I do want to like kind of create my own characters too. Like this frog I just made, I just used reference photos and just kept drawing them and stylizing them until I thought it looked cute to me. So, making things in my personal style is kind of where I'm going with that. And being in a corporate world for as long as I have and not making a lot of art for many, many years, the idea of like getting back into it is a little terrifying, obviously. Um, the world is different. I'm probably going to talk about that too, right? We live in a very digital age. I'm going to come back in here. I think this is dry enough, and I can add some dimension, some color to this. So I'm just going to like put a little bit of that extra color in there. Not making art for a while. It's just scary to get back into it. everybody's doing digital art, and I've certainly considered that, considering the style of art I'm looking at and trying to do. And maybe I will do digital art someday, but I really love watercolor. And even though I might not be like super great at it all the time, I just love to play with it. I love how it moves on the paper. I like the effects it gives. And getting watercolor effects on digital just isn't the same to me. You know, I'm old school. I know. Um, there's nothing like me making these things happen and even making mistakes happen. Because look at this, you can't do this with digital. You can't just move things around and make your paint dance on the paper like this. I think that's why there's still a lot of analog artists like us out there, because while digital can make some really, really great things, the experience, the tactile experience of like painting with mediums like watercolor just can't be replaced, in my opinion, you know? But again, who knows what the future holds, right? Maybe I'll have to adapt and evolve, especially if I want to make a career out of this one day. Because I'm tired of corporate, y'all. I am. I don't think I've ever been a corporate person. I'm good at my job. I'm a trainer, and I'm really good at helping other people learn. But in terms of the buying in of, company values and things of that nature, it's just not something I really believe in, I guess you should say. And I've always been somebody who never expected to wind up in the corporate space, but alas, the world as it is, sometimes we have to make choices to pay the bills, right? All right, I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. That bloomin', I don't know if I like that or not. I'll have to think about that. We'll let it kind of dry a little bit, and then I might do one more layer, and then I'm just not going to touch it anymore because I feel like I'm going to really make it worse, right? I think I'm not using my dryer. I have a dryer, but I'm not using it because it gives me a break to talk to you guys, or all of you. And so I'm just kind of letting it do its thing. So I'm very, very impatient about letting things dry. And if I don't let it dry, it's going to start doing weird stuff. So, okay, I'm going to stop. So, back to life stuff. I talked about where I see my art going. I talked about maybe what I see doing with my art. I think that in the future, I do want to create art pieces that are, sellable. I'd like to make a living with my art somehow. There's lots of things I could do. I mean, just the thought of like the watercolor coloring book, that's an option. Stickers, prints, shirts, comics, things of that nature. It's just like an overwhelming amount of ideas, and I have an overwhelming amount of things that I want to draw and paint and do. I think that really actually makes it hard sometimes to get started when you have too many ideas, but I'm trying to get those thoughts organized for next year. I have my plans for this year done, and then, next year, I'm hoping to follow some sort of structure of learning and building a collection of art that people will enjoy. So, yeah. I actually think I covered all the things that I really wanted to talk about, because I will talk about other things in future videos. I think I'm going to go ahead and do this. And so, this character, like I said, it's a big space, and so it gives me freedom to use a big brush. I don't really use big brushes often. I pretty much stick with a 6, although I realize now in like some of my other painting videos that a 6 isn't always appropriate, especially when you're working with big stuff like this. You have to use the appropriate size brush, right? And these are just things that I'm learning to adapt to as I continue to grow and work on these things. Look, got a little purple in there. That's okay. I'm not mad at that, actually. I'm okay with it. Makes sense. Try and like leave some lighter areas here. I also have a tendency to like fill things in and not leave enough like light areas. So I think I'll have to do a couple of layers just to show that I am trying to leave lighter spaces on the paper. It's possible I may have dipped my paintbrush into my coffee. That happens sometimes. I guess I'm probably not going to drink any more of that until I know for sure that I did or didn't do that. Let's see. What do I want to work on? Let's let the like lid of this cauldron dry a little bit. I can see some of the green bleeding in there, but I'm okay. Let's make some little like bubbles for the cauldron. How about that? So I'm gonna take a little bit of this darker green. Make it really light. Closer to the lime green. I'm just gonna make some like little C's. Like super light. Like there's kind of a lot of water. That's kind of a lot of water. Less water, preferably. And just make some like little C's. Or you can make like whole circles. You can like switch it up. And like as it gets further out, I'll probably make them lighter and maybe smaller. And as I'm getting closer to the cauldron, like maybe a little bit bigger and darker. Yeah, I like that one. That's a good little bubble. Like a little bit more. You can see the way I've kind of made this like a thicker line on the outside and less on the outside. So it's got a little dimension to it. This one's going to be kind of light. And I'm having fun with this number 8 brush. And sorry I keep hitting the camera. This is an experiment. Like all experiments I do, I may totally crush it. I might totally fail. Luckily, I feel confident that my 27 subscribers will continue to watch me anyway, even though I flubbed this. I haven't really made a pathway to getting more subscribers. I think because I have a full-time job, I haven't really pushed myself to work harder in that regard, like on purpose. There will come a time very soon where I will have more time on my hands. I will probably talk about this in another time too. But my organization, in the earlier of this year, when there were a lot of layoffs happening, they kind of did that whole show yourself the door or we'll show you the door situation. So I was like, okay, no problem. I'll see myself out, essentially. So scary thing to do in this job market is to say, okay, I will take this it was like a severance package, and you get a little bit more than if you were terminated. So I weighed the pros and cons. I discussed it with my spouse at length, and we decided, yes, I think that this is the right thing to do. I've been suffering from burnout for a really, really long time. I'd never experienced anything like this before, like in my life, actually. And then, on top of all of that, and sadly, my mother passed away, and the few months before her passing were an extremely stressful time. Um, Luckily, I worked for an organization where there was some flexibility, so it's like difficult to like give up things like that. It's like one of those things where you're like, oh, it's not so bad. I was able to take care of my mom and all of those things, but at the end of the day, I promise you, um, I think building for myself is something worth trying, and if I have the support of my partner, which I do, I think that not everybody gets that opportunity in life, so I just gonna not squander it. And as things continue to get less busy for me, I really am going to try and do things like focus on my mailing list more, maybe write some blog posts. I'm gonna make some bubbles in here. I don't know about it. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm gonna do it. Um, maybe create some sort of collection of characters and things of that nature. I mentioned that I'm an instructor, and so I'm really good at teaching and explaining things, really, virtually. I don't know about in person, but part of the burnout was the training aspect of things. I love training. I love helping people, like I said, but um, I was doing the instructional design and the training and other things, and it just got to be a lot. And trust me, making a career out of art is way more than that. So I've already discovered in the first 6 months here that there's a lot of work building something for yourself, creating something for yourself. Even doing things for fun like this has been a lot of work. But I really love video editing. I did video editing for my job. And so I already liked doing it when I decided I wanted to start posting videos on YouTube. And so I'm hoping I can leverage that. Leverage the skills that you have if you're trying to start your own business or project of any kind. Lean into what you love doing already. This is the most art I've made in 13 years, which is as long as I've been working for the company I've been working for. So I think when I realized that I was going to say goodbye to that, I think just this creative valve opened up. And that was like an amazing thing. Just all of a sudden, every day I would draw and paint. And that's just not something I've done in such a long time. And I'm really enjoying doing it. So I'm going to keep doing it. Success or fail of, YouTube or turning it into something, I think I've realized that my life, I want to be a more creative life. That I've missed out on a lot of years of experience creating. And life's too short. Life's too short for all that. If you want to create, create. All right. I don't know. I don't know if I like the little bubbles inside. But I'm going to leave that be for just a minute. This paper's like super warped, but I think it's dry. So let me do one more layer here. I'm just going to wet the stuff that I want to be darker. I'm not going to wet like this area. I kind of like that area as it is, so. I might have to actually like My hands are already like green from all the paint. I think I'm just going to have to lift this up a little bit and let it. There we go. Take a little bit. Move that a little bit. I got outside the lines, y'all. But you know what? When we were kids, we never stayed inside the lines, right? What's the fun in that? I'm just going to leave that. Let's see what it does. Just going to do a darker layer. Actually, I'll do it on the bottom. Like the light's coming from this way. Just to add a little something to it. Try to fix that little bleeding there. And this should be a little bit darker back here, I think. Ooh, I'm being very taking risks today. I like to use a lot of water on my brush. It sometimes works in my favor, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to leave some of that lighter purple. Whoops. It's okay. Something's fixable. I've been learning a lot of tips and tricks of fixing things. I mean, even making my 3-panel comics, I made a lot of mistakes, and I mean, usually gouache is the answer. I just cover it with gouache and paint over it, but in this case, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that, or I don't want to do that, so I have to find another solution. I mean, I think probably the solution is to kind of lean into that and like add some purple to the back of the cauldron, because it kind of makes sense that this actually would be the back of the cauldron. And then just kind of do that. I don't know. Sort of fixed it. I really like this part with the little bubbles and things like that. I might want to put a little extra detail on there in regards to that. that's a little, I don't know, might have overdid it. You know, it's just like sometimes you have to lean into these things. There, I will fix that. I'll use it for some of these other bubbles. Of course, I got a little hair from my brush. I got it. I've become an expert at removing little hairs from my brush. My brushes, I do not take very good care of. That's a goal for next year, is to do a little bit better job taking care of my brushes and materials and things. You know, if I want to take this more seriously. I've woken up in the morning to find a brush just like stuck in my water, and I'm like, oh no. I've only had one brush like completely split from having so much water soaked into it, but that is a thing that can happen. So you really don't want to leave your brush in your water like that. I want to get one of those rubber water cups that has the little slots to hang your brushes upside down so that the water doesn't go into the handle barrel of the brush. Yeah, this is one of those like maybe you should quit while you're ahead moments for sure. Because I think it was good the way it was. But you guys can tell me in the comments, did I make it is it worse? Is it okay? Does it make a difference? Or you're like, well, no, it's the same. Still looks fine. Still looks terrible. Whatever you think. The cool thing about getting older is that you stop caring as much what people think about what you're doing with your life and your art. Like I said, I'm making it for the fun of it. I'm making it in the hopes of building something in the future. The plan is to learn and to grow and to make something for myself. I think it's time to paint the frog. It's time. And using my 8 brush, I'm still a little nervous because, you know, you have to kind of use a gentle hand so I don't go into all the other areas. And I'm just going to make them really light to start. Can be a little darker down here, work our way back up. Well, it's all still wet. Add a little more color. And then I'll take a little bit of the darker green. And just kind of splotch it in. You know, frogs have texture. So I want him to look kind of textury. I might even take some of this. Oof. Are we going to do it? We're doing it. Oh no. Just kind of telling you. This I didn't test beforehand. I just decided to do it. Because I do what I want. Interesting learning lesson about like different colors like in the same palette, right? So if you This blue, you can see it's kind of breaking up that green. The green was like a little bit more kind of, I don't know what to say, solid. Um, it was very like a flat color, very consistent as I was like, washing it, through the frog. And then as soon as I added that like greenish blue, and I think the blues in this Paul Rubens like all do this, I think. They like granulate a little bit and it's doing a thing, and I don't know how I feel about it. I'm just leaning into the moment. And if I just keep it consistent with the whole thing, looks intentional. Okay. All right, let me leave him alone. We're going to let it dry. Cool thing about having like markers too is that you can kind of fix some things. I was playing around with like thick and thin lines anyway. So if I wanted to kind of like fix some of this stuff where I went over a little bit, I can certainly like make my lines a little bit thicker. So it's not so obvious how much I messed that up. Just kind of like tighten things up a little bit, make them just a little bit more. Just a little bit neater, just a slightly. I don't know if I'm going to be able to completely cover that up. You know what I will do? First of all, I made a mess, so I'm going to clean that. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little shadow. Underneath the cauldron. You might have seen it just now, but the purple and the green are like separating. It's just a function of whatever pigment they're using for these like blue-green colors, or the blues in general. That they just granulate. Hmm. Might have put too much shadow on this side because technically the light's coming from that way, but we'll we'll see if we can fix it. Maybe the light's not coming from that way at all. Maybe it's coming from behind it. Now I've decided to just go off the rails. I've gone off. Sometimes you go where the rhythm takes you. Maybe we just kind of emulate that kind of spooky, smoky pattern we did up above. A little dry brush. Come on. Yeah. Why not? I'm digging it. Just dig a little, put a little of that pigment on and just squiggle my dry brush in it. No water. Yeah. You know what? I'm okay. I am okay with it. All right. Let's see if we can wrap this up. I said one more layer. I'm leaving it. I'm going to leave it as it is. And we're getting to a very long video here. So I'm definitely going to wrap this up, I think. So I'm going to take a darker color in here. Maybe I should use a smaller brush. Or nope, that didn't make it any better. There's still a ton of water on there. Just let it be. Let it do its thing. We're just having fun today. And it's going to be intentionally darker in the back, and then I'm going to let it be lighter in the front. Steal a little bit of you. Make it a little darker under his little booty. And just let it be. Originally, I planned on doing like more glazing, layering of colors, but I feel like I've just been blending today. So it was a blending day. So I will be okay with that. This frog is looking a little flat. Looking a little flat, buddy. No rhyme or reason. Just splotching color on. Some of that color's even bleeding in. And you know what? I'm okay. Just gonna let it do its thing. Now I'm just kind of mixing my base colors and like my little mixing color to get different like shades of purple and green, but I'm just, not adding anything else to these. Just making them lighter or darker with my mixing color. So this is mostly the purple. And I'm not going to do the rim yet because my frog's not dry. Or if I do it, I'm going to have to use another brush, I think. A dry brush. I don't know, I have to put a little water on it. I really don't want it to bleed though. And of course it's going to be darker under there. Whew! I tried it and so far it didn't bleed. So first successful tip of the day. Let's do a couple of finishing touches and then we're just going to call it what it is. The frog. The bubble soup. I'm going to do like a whole layer of that. Again. I'm just going to avoid touching anything else that's wet. And let whatever's there stay there. I don't know if I fixed that or not, but looks better to me. Do a really dark layer. I know I said one more layer. I did, but I can't be stopped. I'm just not adding any more water to my brush. Like, what's there is there. Even doing like a little dry brush. Maybe look a little weathered. Take advantage of the texture that's on this paper. Okay. I think I've done all I'm gonna do. We'll take a little shot of it when it's dry, just to see how it looks at the end. Once I've let everything do whatever it is it's gonna do, which apparently is a lot, especially with those blues. This blue, learning a lot about that. So, okay, I'll leave you with a final shot of the dried piece. And with that, thanks for hanging out with me for this very long hour. And I hope that you have fun doing your own painting. And with that, I will say goodbye. Bye bye.